Hey, everybody. Before we get into this week's interview with Jonathan Womack, I wanted to take a quick moment for a disclaimer because, let's be honest, this episode is on a whole nother level than what we're used to showing, and we want to handle it with the respect that it deserves. First off, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Jonathan. He's an author, lecturer, and someone who's dedicated his entire life to exploring the deep mysteries of spirituality, out of body experiences, ancient lore, and what comes after this life. From his books like Old Souls, The Dog Man Cometh, and A Cry for a Hero, to his personal stories of outer body experiences starting from childhood, Jonathan's conclusions come from years of his own profound experiences, visions, and reflections. It's clear that he's poured his heart into this, and we appreciate him sharing it openly on our show. With that being said, as always, the thoughts, ideas, and experiences shared by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of myself, Pastor Paul Begley, or the Paul Begley podcast team. We're all about faith, prophecy, and tackling the big questions through a biblical lens. But we know that not everything fits neatly into that little box or any little box. Look, this topic is way far out there and will most certainly not be the easiest thing to understand or even digest. We're talking about uncharted territory into the unknown with claims that might stretch your own imagination to the limit. But here's the thing. We're open to it and we respect it. On this podcast, we don't shy away from the wild, the weird, or the what ifs. If you've thought about it, we'll talk about it. That's what we told you from the beginning. And we think that that's how we grow, challenge ourselves, and who knows, maybe even glimpse something divine in the process. So buckle up, keep an open mind, and let's get into it. Thanks for tuning in, and God bless you. Today, we're excited to welcome author, filmmaker, and sci researcher Jonathan Womack, a man whose creative journey has spanned radio, writing, film, and the mysteries of the cosmos. Jonathan is best known for his infinity art theory, a bold new way of understanding geometry, consciousness, and creation itself. His work explores everything from metaphysics and Mars anomalies to the hidden patterns shaping our universe. Jonathan, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. We've been looking forward to diving into your fascinating ideas and discoveries.
Great to have you, Jonathan. Great to have you.
Thank you, Pastor. Good to see you folks today, and thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So we were talking just before I hit the record button, Jonathan and I were about some of the things he's going to present to us today. It's if you're listening to the podcast and that's your preferred method, I would definitely recommend that you watch the video recording of this on YouTube. You can also watch the recording on Spotify as well, because Jonathan's going to share with us a lot of his visuals, which is going to explain a lot of the infinity art theory. But before we get into the visuals, I wanted to ask you about your early life, Jonathan, growing up in cornfields of Indiana, Warsaw, and some of your early influences in storytelling and media.
Yes, let's see. So I thought I'd bring up a video. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let me put it up here.
Yeah. Yes, I started, it was October 6th of 1965, 60 years ago. And I had watched an episode of Lost in Space, and it scared me so bad. It was a Cyclops. And that night I went to bed, and I heard this thunder in my ears like footsteps, and I thought it was the monster was coming to get me. But it was just my own heartbeat inside. You can hear that if it's quiet at night. And next thing I know, I'm standing next to my bed, looking at myself lying there, and I realized I'm back in my natural state. I'm okay. I was a lot of panic at first, but then I realized I was okay, and I went exploring around the town, and that just set the stage for the next 60 years of a lot of crazy, incredible, amazing experiences, and that's been the backdrop for basically that prepared me for learning about the infinity art. It prepared 60 years of OBEs, but it was very pertinent to me, seeing the world around us in a different way.
How old was you, Jonathan, when you had this out of body experience?
I was 6 years old.
And so
So
you went to bed after watching that episode, and then you left your body and began to go all the way in the cosmos.
at that point, no, I went flying around, the town because
The
when you're
neighborhood.
6, yeah, the other side of town seems very far away. It's
Okay.
a
Yeah.
big world, it's
Yeah.
just my
Oh, yeah.
town. And then a year later, a new cartoon came on Saturday mornings called The New Adventures of Superman, and it was really Superboy. They'd have a Superboy cartoon couched in there with Crypto, and that's who, Superman was an old guy like my dad, you
Yeah.
know, but Superboy is like 15 years old, and he
I
hasn't
remember that
gone.
cartoon.
Yeah,
I
that was a
remember.
great cartoon.
Yeah.
So that's where I thought, "Oh my gosh, that's what I'm supposed to do," because he can fly like me, Superboy can fly, and, this is what I'm supposed to do with this, is to help people. So I started receiving, um, I equate it with a beeper signal. You used to have the beeper on your belt, and it would go off, and you'd answer
Right.
it, and so I get these alarms from people in the physical world, and sometimes it would be helping somebody in the spirit world, that was traumatized. Maybe they had just died in a violent way and this kind of thing. And, um, I spent 20 years clearing ground zero in New York. And in 2019, yeah, I go there every year on 9/11. That's my birthday. So, yeah, I go there every year and, help some souls find their way to the light. And after, see, that was 2020. Yeah, 2020. It was when, Trump was elected, and he's at 9/11 there. Um, yeah, and it was clear there were no more. It was all joy and just white love light, and it was really beautiful. And, but yeah, it took 20 years.
So Paul, 1 second. You
Yeah.
born on 9/11. I wrote a book, Revelation 9/11, talk about what happened at
Oh,
the event. Plus, the scripture of Revelation 9/11 is about Apollyon coming out of the bottomless pit to unleash chaos on the earth.
oh,
The Bible, it just so happens. So here you are, born on 9/11. So you felt drawn to go to the location, ground zero, and help free the spirits that may be trapped or in anguish. Is that what I'm understanding when you say clear the?
yeah. When you have a violent death, people, their souls often linger there, and they're confused and troubled. And, um, in the mid 80s, I had this idea to write a book about this out of body superhero, because I started, when I was 6, or when I was 7, and the Superman cartoon came out. I took that form in my out of body state. You can make yourself look like an orb or a wisp or whatever.
Wow.
And I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to look like Superboy." So that's what I did. And, so then in the mid 80s, I thought about writing, a screenplay. My two brothers had written a screenplay about this guy who invented a car that runs on water, and it was kind of this action thriller. And I thought, boy, I've got an action thriller I could write.
Yeah.
But there wasn't yet time, so I just couched that idea in the back of my mind for till whenever. And then in 1999, I got the tap on the shoulder from my spirit guide and said, "Yeah, it's time to write." So I sat down. I'd never written a book, but I started writing my first novel, A Cry for a Hero. And it's about this terrorist attack because I felt them coming. And the terrorists were coming. I thought they were coming to Boston, which they did in a way. But I thought the attack was going to be on Boston. And so I write this novel, and I'm getting near the end of the book. I'm writing the climactic ending. Um, and the attack, it's actually much, much worse than the 9/11. They take out the whole city of Boston in the story. So I'm writing the end of the book, and I'm that morning of 9/11, I'm driving into Boston to work at the Prudential Center, which is the tallest building in town. And it was I'm a retired IT media tech, so I was going into this medical conference at the Prudential Center in the Heinz Auditorium, and my girlfriend calls me and says, "I
All right.
thought it was over last
All
time."
right, Jonathan.
That's all right.
She says something has happened, and she knows I was writing the book and so forth. So it was just really, yeah. She told me what happened. I was like, "Oh my God, they're here,
Wow.
and it's happened." So yeah, I drove into work there at the Prudential Center, and there was about 35 of us techs sitting around going, "What the heck's going on? Are they going to ram a plane into the Prudential Center?" Um, So that was canceled, that medical show, because all of the doctors were called to New York to help
Mhm.
out, and, so we ended up going home, but that was just very it was so eerie, and I had to put I was writing the manuscript, and I just had to shelve it for several months because it was too everything at that time. I think it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie about terrorists, and they
Mm,
anything was just kind of put away after 9/11, as you recall, and
yeah.
but I picked it up the following year and finished the book, and then published it in 2003, and yeah, that was I'm just very connected to that event. So naturally, when 9/11 rolls by and it's my birthday, I in the morning I go to bed and go out of body and would just go there to patrol the area and help any of these confused souls that are lost and they don't know they're even some of them don't even know they're dead, and there's just a lot of it's some bad vibes there. It's like going out the prison camps in Germany or something. There's
Wow.
a lot of bad energy there. So um that's what I've done each year for 20 years, and eventually got to the point, like I said, that was in 2020, 9/11, 2020. So it was very beautiful and just full of love, and all the people that
Mm.
were there were just, they had healed, you know,
Yeah.
and it was a completely different environment. And I'm very, I don't know if proud is the word, but I feel good that I was able to accomplish that and clear that area.
Yeah. So, John, I wanted to ask you a few more things before we move on, because it's difficult for me to try to understand because I'm not able to do any sort of outer body experience. But I know for sure a lot of people listening in have been able to do that, may still be able to do that. I wanted to ask you, so at 6 years old, 7 years old was the first time you experienced this. So when you're talking about going back to 9/11 or ground zero, are you meaning, do you go physically or do you go spiritually, or out of body experience, or both? Are you still able to go out of body, and can you do it kind of on command, or how does that work?
Well, it's very much, it's basically a lucid dream.
Right.
You're having a dream and you're awake, and yeah, you get up and you remember the dream because you're just awake and aware during the dream. So basically, that's what it is just being awake in the dream and controlling the dream.
Mm.
And yeah, I've gotten to the point where, in the beginning it was, I'd lie down, relax, and breathe and just get into it. But it got to the point where I could just lie down and pretty quickly be out and about in this dream state, just quiet my mind
Yeah.
and relax. And I'm lying there. And then, so yeah, that's, I don't physically, I've been to New York a number of times, but I've avoided that area because not ready to go there physically.
Sure.
But yeah, and in the spirit world, the dreamscape, whatever you want to call it, emotions are very strong. There's no filter. So that's something you develop over time, is learning. It's so important to have that control over your emotions, because if you panic in the spirit world, if something bad is happening, you cannot panic, or you're lost. And
Mm.
I've had a couple of doozies where it was a pretty dire situation, and thank goodness I was able to just, and I've had that same motif in my IT media career where I worked at Harvard for over a decade, and BU and all these other schools, and I'd be in an auditorium, and I've worked with Bill Gates to Princess Rainier, and famous, politicians and movie stars and all this kind of thing. And I'm a conservative too, so it was always,
Yeah.
um, most of the people like at Harvard didn't care about my politics as long as I knew my job. And if they were in trouble in front of a large crowd, and I walk in, they're like, "Oh, thank God you're here, Jonathan. My thing stopped working." And you guys know how it is, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that was always cool to be calm, where the event organizer would just be like, "Oh my God, the world's going to end." And I'm like, "Okay, let's just be, oh, here's the loose cable or whatever it was," and click, and now
Mm.
everything. So you have to be, it's same in the spirit world where it can get pretty dire and the emotions are so strong and unfiltered, and you have to just keep your wits about you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jonathan, when you say that if it, you get lost, can you explain that? Do you mean you don't know where you're at? When you're when you're in an outer body experience, if you don't keep yourself together, you're saying you could just get lost.
I just meant losing your mind, or you losing
Oh,
your
okay.
focus, or yeah,
Okay,
losing your train of thought and your control, losing control. Yeah.
that's what I want.
Uh,
Losing control. With that,
Yes.
who takes control? I mean, what do you just? What do you just float?
Yeah. Flying is a wonderful thing, and I love to fly. And y- the only times I've been afraid of getting lost is when I first started going into deep space. I was afraid of getting lost, and you read about crib deaths, and those are babies who were, they just came from the spirit world, so they're not integrated here yet. So they still want to go fly around, like they just were a minute ago in the spirit world,
wow.
and then they get lost and they don't come back. They don't want to come, and the
Right.
mother goes and finds the baby's dead, and it's that kind of thing. But yeah, I was afraid of getting lost in deep space because you get out there and you're just like, oh my gosh, look at this, and you forget who you who you were and what you were doing and where you were. Oh wait, I was John Womack back on planet Earth. That's where I got to go. You can really forget because it's such a big galaxy
Universe.
universe out there. You can get lost.
So, and sorry. So with that too, so this probably leads in. You mentioned your spirit guide. Is this just like a conscious voice, subconscious voice, or somebody that you've actually met? Because we interviewed Samuel Chung, who translated a book from Michel de Marquet that actually maybe you could call it a spirit guide, but it described it as an ET that was kind of walking him through different, parallel universes and um, yeah, different planet or the planet Theoba. How would you describe your spirit guide? Is it something physical? Because just trying to understand the whole realm of going OBE anyway is difficult to try to understand. So I was hoping you could elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, I've become, I've learned over the years when I get a ping, it's like getting a ping. They ping your mind. Your spirit guide, it's really your guides. You have two, because to me, people think about, hearing voices in your head or so forth is, God is talking to you. Well, your parents, they are your God, I suppose, because they created you. You were born in the spirit world, and you have parents who bore you, and they send you to earth school, and it's a learning environment for us. And they are watching us, from their side of the curtain. They see us all the time. There's no point where they're not watching us. There's time is different there. There is time in the spirit world, but it moves in cycles rather than minutes and hours. And
Mm.
so they're always watching you, and they love you. Just like here, you have your parents, and they love you, and they send you to school, and it's really the same setup. And so I've just, over the years, just become very used to that and being in tune to that, where I get a tap on the shoulder or just pinged with some, and it's a quiet voice, and they'll just say, "Go do this," and I'll drop what I'm doing. And there's been a few times, sometimes I will question them. For an example, um, August 8th of 2023. This is a few months after what happened in January of 2023 was a milestone where I've been looking at Delicate Arch in Utah for a few months or a couple of years. Um, I was on Richard Hoagland's show, and Keith, the producer, he had gone to Utah and took some pictures of Arches Park, and I was like, "Oh my God, you got to be kidding me!" I saw Delicate Arch, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Hmm.
So I just got in this this mode where I got to figure this. What is this? Because I know it's something very profound. This is not erosion. Well, it is erosion, but it's not random erosion. It's intelligence erosion. It's so, I was just so struck with this. And so January of 2023, I'm sitting here on my computer looking at Delicate Arch, and I getting ready for bed and feeling frustrated. So I just said to them, out loud, just show me, what is the deal? Because you guys are killing me here. I don't understand why today I see this face, tomorrow I see another face, and the next day it looks, I'm like, what is going on? So I go to bed, I lie down, and a minute later I'm flying through space. And then along come these three spirits flying along beside me, and they're like, okay, let's go. So we go off. There's a rush of motion when you're flying through the ether. It's just like, and then we're at this planet, and I can see clearly that the face of the planet is this dude. And like, oh my gosh. And it's stunningly beautiful, and it's very moving. And I can see that there's many other faces overlaying and overlapping, and it's a scaled thing where it goes right down to the surface of the planet. Like faces get smaller and smaller. It's a fractal setup, and So they take me to another planet, and oh my gosh, look at this one. Oh, wow.
Hmm.
And we just repeated that. It's like they were curators in a museum giving me this tour. And we get back to Earth, and I had assumed we were far away at some other star system that, was a special star system, and they had these sculpted planets, and it was this crazy thing. But no, the Earth is sculpted too, and we're in the Sol system.
Wow.
And seeing all these, Venus and um, Mars and all these places. I didn't recognize them because now I can see them in this new light. I see
Hmm.
the faces. And we get back to Earth, and it's like my planet was unrecognizable because now, we look at North America and you go South America and Africa. Wow. Now I'm seeing the art, the clouds are going by, and the water and it's everything. It's not just the rocks and the solid stuff. It's the light, and it's everything, and it's making these incredible, beautiful art, and it's so stupefying and beautiful. Oh my God, how did we miss all this? How is it that we've been so conditioned? When we look at clouds and see a face or something, it's just,
Hmm.
and you just dismiss it. And then come to find out, oh my God, the whole planet is sculpted, and the clouds is all this art, and it's all these conscious beings on the other side. There are beings in higher dimensions, and they're thinking all this, and Utah and all these other places around the world and the solar system. And
Hmm.
so I've been 2 years into this. So let me go back. So August of 2023, this is a few months now. I can see the infinity art, and I'm sitting at my computer, and I get the tap on my shoulder, and it says, go look at the Giza Plateau. And
Oh,
yeah, the
okay.
Giza Plateau. Yeah. And I
Hmm.
was, like I said, I'm usually pretty good. I just drop what I'm doing, and because they know a lot better than me, my parents know better than me. But yeah, I'm like, what? Why would you have me go look at, the pyramid and the Sphinx, and they dragged some blocks up, and whatever the story is. I'm looking at Delicate Arch. It's 150 million years old, according to geologists. Canyonlands right next to it is 200 million years old. This is Jurassic time when the dinosaurs were around. So, like, why would you send me to Giza?
Hmm.
I don't get it, but okay. I'm like, okay, I'll go. So
Yeah.
I stop what I'm doing, and I just go on Google Earth, and then I bring up some pictures, and I just like, oh my God. Because now I can see. And I was shocked to
Yeah.
see that the pyramids and the Sphinx are infinity art. There's a million overlapping faces and effigies on the Sphinx and the pyramids. And as the sun goes by, they all change. And like on the pyramid, the first planet they took me to um, was actually a moon, Iapetus, which has this feature. It's very noticeable. It goes around Iapetus. It's a 60-mile tall mountain range. And when you look at it from space, it's this ridge. And like I said, I saw this guy's face. And so the ridge is a technique they use for this art.
Hmm.
And it depicts the a line coming down a human face. And then the light comes in, and all the magic happens. So that's why they took me to Iapetus first, because it was the most obvious I saw this face taking up the whole planet, and you have this ridge. So when I got to the Giza Plateau and I look at the pyramids, I go, oh my gosh, that's the corner of the pyramid, each corner, each of the four corners. That's these people's faces,
Right.
and
What?
so I'm seeing
Sorry.
this new way. Yeah.
Can I interrupt you real quick, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Are you able to share your visuals so we can kind
Yeah.
of see?
It's a good idea. Okay. Let me see. Let me bring this up.
So this is the documentary. I think this is on Paraflix now.
Yes, this is on Paraflix, and actually, I ended up taking a model of the Sphinx, and it fits perfectly. I mean, it's the Sphinx face, and it fits perfectly on here. So this is Delicate Arch, and as you can see, what they do is instead of just having the bust of somebody, they have the bust, but they take away, they carve out the middle part, and they
Are you able to zoom in on that? I don't know if you can drop that
yes, I
editing
can
part
look at
down. There we go.
that.
Thank you.
And then they fill it in with background features. So what we're supposed to do is look at the foreground, the middle ground, and the background in the sky, and look at it and let it blend together into one dimension. So we have not.
And wait. So that arch is in Utah,
This is in Utah. It's called
but
Delicate Arch. Yeah.
but the Sphinx is in Egypt.
Yes.
So you're taking the head of the Sphinx and inserting it into the arch in Utah.
Yeah.
And you're saying it fits exactly.
It's an exact. The Sphinx is a codex that someone came here long, long ago and set that up for us, so that we would see this art on the Sphinx. And then when we look around nature, we go, oh gosh, yeah.
Hmm.
So let's go to the first thing I noticed was this face right here. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my buddy from Delicate Arch. And, it was all faces. There's a million faces. And there's so many aspects to the infinity art, like the shadow art. The way they make art out of the shadows is just unbelievable. So here's another thing. You can instantly I see, oh my gosh, yeah, that's the lips. I see these lips in nature. And what they do is they use slits and slots and crevices to denote facial features like eyes, because when you have all these lines, see how this line right here in the face of the Sphinx, that is a match line. So they use these lines become match lines, and you match the lines up with background features. It might be some clouds going by or whatever, but when you look at mountains and bluffs and mesas and all this, and you have all these lines, these are match lines. And it's really amazing. And like if you use Google Earth camera, when you move the camera around up and down, you tilt it up and down or back and forth, you see that these lines match up and they make different faces with the background lines. It's really amazing and stunning.
Can you walk us through an exercise like that, Jonathan?
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, here, another example of how there's just so many faces. I'll go through some of these quick. Um, as I mentioned with the corner of the pyramid, so here's this person here. Now, these people, I've become pretty familiar with a lot of these folks. And, so I recognize them kind of going quick, but this is how we're supposed to see all this stuff, is in this context of many dimensions, like the sky, the ground in front of all the ground around the pyramids. This is a crater on Mars in Cydonia. The craters, oh my God, that's my next documentary. Focuses on the crater, and craters are unbelievable, like the Arizona crater and just all these craters around the world. There's another montage where I'm trying to show how this all works. like a delicate arch. Here you see how the clouds, oh my God. And they just go by, and then some more faces will come in. And, this is conscious thought is creating this even real time. If you're at delicate arch looking at it, this taps into your mind. It's psychoactive. It's built into our DNA. So they will hear, they can hear your thoughts. We don't have telepathy here.
Who do you say is hearing our thoughts? The faces?
These people, yeah, these people in higher dimensions.
Okay.
You can call them the great architects, or call them whatever you want. Well, some of it is us, because I believe that we learn how to create this art. And in a book I read years ago, Dr. Michael Newton hypnotizes people for stress, and one day he realized they were recounting past lives, so he just got into studying this. And one of his cases was a woman. She's an old soul, and she says, "Yes, my spirit guide, we're leaving Earth. He's taking me to the practice planet, and I'm learning how to make the rocks, and I'm having trouble making the rocks stick together. They keep falling apart, and he's helping me to do that." So that is what we learn. That is the ultimate. We are learning all the time to become artists, and we go out and we will make art on the planet. Well, then we end up making a planet, and then we really get big and powerful. We make a solar system, and then a galaxy, and that's why we have, a trillion galaxies, and this sort of thing. And
Let me ask a question too while we're on this.
sure.
I have to go back to okay. We interviewed Samuel Chung, who is talking about, and I forgot the guy's name, the French
Michel de Marquet.
who was taken to the planet Theoba
Mm-hmm.
by some type of angelic type being. We're not sure, but looked like a woman. Okay, that took him all the way there. I interviewed Stephen Boyles, who died during COVID and was put on a respirator for 45 days. And he said an angel came to him and took him out of his body through the cosmos, flying through space. And he ended up in heaven, where he met a man waiting for him, and they welcomed him into heaven. And for 45 days, he toured heaven, meeting his mother and father. All of his 16 pets he's had in his life were all there. He's seen the beauty and the glory and the incredibleness of heaven, including meeting Jesus Christ. So now you've had I don't think you went to another planet. Did you say you went to another planet, or did someone else go and you were just telling us that? I can't remember. But my point is this: each one of these experiences, there was someone who took them there. Okay, there was an escort, whether it was angelic, that Stephen Boyle said was an angel, or the other guy who said he thinks it might have been an angel, or of some.
Yeah, I think you described it as like a beautiful female with a spacesuit on.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is that these are similar, but each location different. And I guess my question is, and this is to me maybe, is each one had a different belief system, maybe. Okay. And so did they go where their belief system was? Okay. It's just a question for me, and I have to go back and think that one over. But the point is, each one had a different guide. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Take them. So, Jonathan, do you have a different guide that takes you when you go out of the body experience, or do you just go on your own?
Well, I go on my own, but your guide is always there.
Okay.
They might not be chatting with you at the time, but they're always there.
There's a presence always there.
Yeah. There's never a time where they're not looking over your shoulder. They're always looking over your shoulder all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're always there because they're, there in the other world, the other side. Yeah, you could just, it's kind of like watching a movie or something, and they're always there watching you.
But now what's happened is you've developed this ability to look at the Egyptian pyramids, the Sphinx, the arches, the different landscapes, and you're able to see multi-dimensional layers of art and faces in the structures or the landscape, or and you're even able to put things together from different locations of the earth. And that's what I'm hearing you say. It's what do you call it? Infinity art.
Infinity art, yes, because there's so many overlapping faces, and they're activated by the sun and the moon and the starlight.
Wow.
It is so crazy, and it's so big. It's going to be hard to convince people that this is real. It's easy to dismiss as pareidolia.
Sure.
But up until this point, we just haven't had enough data to even think this big. Um, and it's all over Mars and all the planets, and it's just
Yeah.
I'm going through these pretty quick, but and once you see it, um, once I could see and I understood what was going on, then it was, boy, it was just a race.
Mhm.
I couldn't get enough. I couldn't see enough because now I'm seeing the world for the first time. It feels like, and I have to do this because apparently there's no one else. This slide here just shows that the fractal nature of this is the farther you zoom out from Earth, and then, you can see the Milky Way, and then you can see a whole bunch of galaxies, and then it's all the way. This is a graphic of NASA's of the universe. And so it's a fractal thing. It's the art is everywhere. There's no place where the art isn't. Um, Now, this is some slides where I had to go back to the earliest pictures because the Sphinx has been altered somewhat over the years since it was dug out in the 1800s. And they filled in some of the stuff with sandstone, mud, and
Mm.
they put a paw here. I mean, they're
Right.
they're thinking it's a lion. And they're unknowingly they are doing more damage than they are good. They're trying to save the, you
The
know,
restoration.
yeah, they don't want it to erode, but
Well,
yeah,
can I stop you real quick, Jonathan? I
y-
just thought of something here.
sure.
So, Pastor, you had mentioned, so you're trying to describe the infinity art theory. It's not just on Earth, as Jonathan's shown us, right? It goes all the way to infinity, right? So past our universe, our solar system. Um, it's everywhere. Is what I gather. What you're trying to show us, and as best you can with what you're able to get. But I assume you're probably able to see more things than you can even show visually from your OBEs, with your guides. Um, do you think uh, some of the things here on Earth already, like the pyramids and the Sphinx, Um, do you think that some of the architects of these things, whether they be humanoids or extraterrestrials, I'm just going to say, from a layman's point of view, that it was humanoids. The ancient Egyptians built this. Do you think that somebody also had the same vision, or somebody had showed them from an OBE, kind of, the artwork to go forward to project, to kind of show the infinity art theory as you're describing?
I think somebody came here with knowledge of fractal physics, um, and then they would have had to direct this because
Right.
when you look at the pyramid, it's like, oh my gosh, it was somebody who knew what they were doing and had knowledge of this very advanced being who would have come here and trying to help humans see this. And it's, I believe, the Sphinx is a codex, and the pyramids, um, for us to learn to see all this. And it's history too. All the history is there for us. There's so much history they're telling us. And gosh, I love this photo here. I, I'm trying to show how this is a left facing side profile. And then here's another one. The blue is part of it's another left facing profile. It's like those movie posters of Justice League. You have the people like Superman and Batman, you have Wonder Woman, they're standing in this side by side. I don't know what you call that, but there's a lot of that in the Infinity art where you have multiple people depicted.
Hmm.
They're standing like this. And yeah, our eyes are not trained to see in this way. And there's just so much information here. And um, my goal is to get people to see it because it's very natural to me now. I look at the world around us and I see them. I've become familiar with them, and it's not just humanoids. It's they're like reptoids, people, and the most striking are
Hmm.
probably the dragons, where we have dragons in our mythology, and um, who would have ever thought? I guess Joe Rogan believes that dragons were real, so I got to get in touch with him because he would. Oh my God! The dragons are so beautiful, and here's an animation I did in this is a balanced rock in Arches Park, and I was trying to get you to see how this works when you tilt the Google Earth camera.
Yeah, we're interested in
Uh,
seeing that.
it's all an alignment thing. So things line up. It's geometric and architectural. So
Hmm.
So the
different part.
angle makes a difference and
Yes.
light makes a difference.
Yes. The slope too.
Yeah.
Just like the pyramids have that slope, you have the ground is sloped, and it slopes up to the sky.
Hmm.
So I'm not
So,
using.
real quick, so if you're listening, so Jonathan's showing us pretty much how he uses, which is a fantastic technology, by the way, Google Earth, to manipulate the vantage point. I guess there would be no other way to do this unless you're able to have an OBE and you can fly around, or you're in a tiny little drone to
Yeah.
visualize this thing. All right.
Yeah.
What can you tell them what the software is you're using? Because you can use Google Earth with this, right?
Yeah, this is Google Earth. So if you have an internet connection and a computer, you can do this. You just download, it's a free application, Google Earth, and you can go look at this stuff yourself and just
Hmm.
tilt the camera around, and you're going to see that these features all line up to make, it's a sea of faces and an ocean of art.
And
So,
you're seeing a lot of faces right now, right, Jonathan?
yeah, there's,
And see, and I think,
It's hard. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna have to. I mean, for me, I would have to study that a while for them maybe to start to see a face. But as someone who's done it a lot, like you, using Google Earth, you're able to see them in multiple angles and locations. Am I right?
yes, here I'm showing how if you focus on this point as being the nose
Hmm.
and how all this lines up. So here we have these faces. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. And as you move the camera left and right, look at that. See, this is somebody, this is someone else, and someone else, and someone else. So this is, oh, it's so big.
So now, when you're showing these, those, and you say this is somebody, somebody else, and somebody else,
Yeah.
are you familiar with these faces somewhere else?
Yeah, I will see the same face in another part of the world or
Right.
on another planet. So let's go back to
Wow.
um, this section. I want to talk about where seeing the art involves looking at a crater and being able to see a crater, but also see it as a mound.
Mm,
That's the trick. And the infinity art taps into your mind. And so when you learn to see, here is, this is in Utah next to Arches Park, Castle Valley, it's called. This is Porcupine Ridge. So we see it as this bowl shaped area, but the art, if you look at the art, you see it suddenly becomes like it's a mound. And you see this person's face here, like eyes and, the mouth and the chin down here.
mm.
That's the kind of thing where you look at a crater. I was telling Richard the other day, him and his colleagues were all looking at this comet that's flown into our solar system.
Atlas.
Yeah, three
Atlas,
eye.
yes, Three Eye Atlas, and I said, "Well, you're all looking," because he's like, "Well, what do you see? Come on, tell us." Like, well,
Huh.
you're all looking at the mound. Look at the crater, and it becomes
Mm.
an archway, a portal. And so he made a bunch of comparisons based on that and so forth. But yeah, it's so here I'm showing how it's multidimensional. You have the foreground and then this midground and then the sky. And then we're supposed to look at that as one face or many faces, but you look at it so it blends together. And I'm highlighting some faces here like that here. They always have a crown, some sort of headdress, and
Wow.
it's different for everyone
Mm.
because we're all different people. So it taps into your mind, and you're going to see different faces than what I see. But we'll see the same faces too. I could say,
Mhm.
"Oh, look at this one," and you go, "Oh, I see that. Look at this one over here," and you can show me that, and I can see it. This is my book, Infinity Art.
So, Jonathan, it's, if you're listening, I'm telling you, it's way too difficult to kind of understand what Jonathan's trying to show us here. But from what I'm gathering, right, and I'm not very good at seeing these sorts of things. I'm not a very, I had mentioned before we started,
W-
spatial awareness kind of person. Um, but from
Fun.
what I'm gathering, what was the term that you said earlier, Jonathan, about people? There's a term for it where people just dismiss things of like, oh, you see a face.
Pareidolia.
What's that?
Pareidolia.
Pareidolia.
Yeah, and so that's
Pareidolia.
essentially where just people are like, oh yeah, you see a face over there, or like when you're a kid, or even adults now too, still look at faces or objects or images in a cloud. But
Right.
from what I'm gathering, the infinity art theory that you're showing us is, uh, if I feel like if you're able to make your eyes and vision take a more of a macro view with the foreground, middle ground, and background of everything, you can see these faces and images and objects, not only just in one location that you could say, oh, it kind of looks like a guy, but you can be like, no, it kind of looks like that guy that I saw on Mars. Is that correct?
Yeah, after a while, you recognize, they become familiar, just like your friends, and they're familiar to you. And after a while, oh, like this face here.
Let me ask a question here,
Yeah,
John. Okay, so we have the new technology of facial recognition.
yeah,
Okay, you can look at all the different faces on the planet, 8 billion people. and can create a profile for each person
Yeah.
miraculously. So I wonder if that technology overlaid with the spatial ability could begin to pick up facial recognitions.
Mm,
And let me say this, I have a hard time with this because,
same.
well, I had a stroke to where it's already bad enough that I have any bright light of the studio or sunlight hurts very bad because the optic nerve in my left eye got hurt. But I also have spatial uh, from the stroke, like a stair. I don't always see the stairs. It all looks
Mhm. Depth
level.
perception.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it and, it's difficult for me. Maybe there's different people who have more, a more keen ability,
Mm,
like you, Jonathan. I think there's people who are able to see multi-dimensional layers better than others.
right.
Is that
Well,
possible?
I was saying before we started as well, when I used to teach math and I would teach geometry, there were students in the class. I would show them something, whatever we were working on, and they were able to, see it right away and see the solution. That's because they were able to see the object of the figure better. And I was more of a, nah, I can't prove it yet. I need to write out the actual, expression and the actual formula for it. So I think there are definitely two different types of people as far as when it comes to, spatial awareness and objects and things like that.
Yeah, but I believe this is in our DNA. We were meant to see this. And
Yeah.
we've been conditioned to dismiss anything like this as impossible. What is it? Douglas Adams, the author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, he has a good quote where he's saying, I'm paraphrasing, but if our mind sees something that it determines is impossible, then it dismisses it. And that's what happens is this is so big and so beyond that it seems ludicrous. And so archaeologists and geologists and all that, and they come up with it's pareidolia. It's just your mind
Mm,
imagining. Well, it is your mind, but it's meant that's on purpose. This taps into our mind. This is all very we're supposed to see it. And like this picture I have here on the screen, um, I love this. It's so beautiful to me. So you have a pair of eyes here, let's see, and this is the nose, and this is the mouth. That's one face. And then you can look at it again and see a pair of eyes, the same nose and mouth, but now, a pair of eyes up here. And you see that as a face. And so you're going to see many faces. These lines, like I said, the creases and crevices, all these creases are faces, are facial features. And so you could think of these, you got to start somewhere. So you could think of these as representations of someone's mouth. And then you kind of build from there. Like
right.
these would be two eyes. And so I figure if I just keep highlighting some the stuff, and so that there's a lot of, oh, see, here's mouth. This is how we're supposed to see these incredible landscapes. See, this is a pair of eyes right here. This is one eye. This is another eye. And you come down here, and this is, now we don't see it that well right now, but on another day, like next Wednesday, when the sun is coming in the clouds, and it's at night too, there's all the faces at nighttime. So um, I, I figure if I just keep showing as
So this is
many,
documentary also, right? I mean, people want to watch.
yes, in my documentary, Ancient Architects of Orion, I go into great detail, and I use these similar methods. And I'm just showing, I think that's the best work I've done is in that documentary where I'm showing how this is all making these faces and Yeah, it's
Are you showing what you have on the screen here? Is that
yeah.
it looks like some of the things I saw in the documentary. But the thing that I can see better, yeah, so Ancient Architects of Orion, which
Yeah.
is on Paraflix. Is it anywhere else, Jonathan?
No, I had submitted it to Prime Video.
Okay.
They have a number of other shows on there, but
Where
did they?
Paraflix? I mean, is that on Roku? Can you?
Oh no, it's its own platform like Prime Video. It's paraflix.com,
Okay.
and you go there and you can just do a search for Ancient Architects of Orion, and it will come right up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I was hoping you could show us though this image that you have on there of this arch. So again, it's difficult for me to see some of these things, but the more that I look at it, I can start to see them. But
cool.
this one was easier that you have on the screen of because you can already start to see the the face formation on the bottom right hand side
Yes.
of the arch. I was
Yes.
hoping you could maybe show that part of the documentary with the Sphinx.
I don't have that queued up, but
Okay.
what I do in the documentary is use the Google Earth camera, and I was telling you that all these lines, all these creases, are match lines,
Yeah.
and as you orbit the arch, I I, I do this exercise in the documentary, and I circle around the arch so that you can see as you move around all these. It makes different faces. It's lining up with the background in a way, and it just makes I call it matching. This is matching and aligning feature where you can just orbit and move the camera around and rotate it, and oh my gosh, sure enough, it's aligning with all these other features. Or if there's clouds coming by, or even the Milky Way. The Milky Way has lines in it too, and it's all lining up, and it's
Let me
just really incredible. So
let me let me see if I
why
can
don't?
share that for you. Because I have just tell me where it's at on here. Because I just want people to see this.
Okay, this is the Jedi Council scene. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that I can really see. And this is what you were just referring to as far as um, matching up the arch with the Sphinx with the rotating or pivoting around the arch, and then kind of just if you're listening, I would definitely recommend go again and watch this because you can actually see with the match lines that Jonathan's been talking about here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so you just bring the Sphinx face over, and now if you look at the arch just by itself, you can see that those match lines in the rock formation actually match up perfectly for this face. And then so Jonathan's taking it away here. And again, I don't know if you can see that, Pastor.
Yeah, I did see how the camera, when it put it there and then faded away, you begin to see where the
Yeah.
matching of the mouth, the matching of the nose, the matching of the lines in on the back of the headdress of the,
Yeah,
you know,
And what I'm trying to show here is that, see, it lines up with the background,
background. Yeah.
and it's different people.
It's a very interesting documentary as well because we're not going to show it all on here. You can go watch it on Paraflix, but like the arch itself, Jonathan describes in here is kind of like a projector screen, or I'm trying to think of another way to describe it, like a lens, pretty much. And if you look through it and you change your vantage point of how you're looking through it, the background you can see different formations, on different faces and different objects.
Yeah. Oh, it's so amazing. It's hard to wrap your mind around it because it seems impossible. But I I'll never forget, and you know, them showing me this, and then I go back and look at Delicate Arch, and I can finally see it. Like, oh my God, I never would have guessed it was this big and this beyond, and so
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it just leaves you. Sometimes I'm just my breath is taken away by the beauty of this, and one of the aspects I mentioned is the chambers.
Yes.
There's so many aspects, like the shadow art is incredible, and the chambers are unbelievable. I started finding all these chambers around Arches National Park. Let's go look at some of the chamber. Okay, so this is probably looks pretty funky right now, but what this is taking the Google Earth camera and you move the camera inside of a mesa.
Hmm.
And when you go inside the inner walls, because this is a 3D mesh, the Google Earth camera sends a robotic drone out with a camera, and he uses photogrammetry to create a 3D model of the landscape. And it's similar to a video game. If you ever go in a building and a video game and the
Yeah.
interior walls become um, see through and you can see outside, and these are the lines of the 3D mesh that you see here. So you can take the Google Earth camera and move inside of these mesas. And when I started doing that, I realized that the Google Earth camera has gone inside some of these chambers. This is a chamber inside of, this is in Park Avenue section of, yeah, let me slow it down a little bit too. And then I started looking at it and all the different, like the equinox and so yeah, this pocket here is a chamber, and we're looking out from inside this giant mesa. It's 700
Hmm.
feet tall, and I'm studying how the light is coming in and changing the chamber and what's happening, and I'm realizing that there's all of this. Like if you were in there, I would imagine if you had some sort of medical condition, it's going to have healing properties. So I'm going to let this play real time and just let you watch it. This is a time
Wow.
lapse. You can see in the top left, I have the camera going here very fast, and we're going to see some amazing.
Oh, so Google Earth can generate by different times of day?
Oh, it has a sundial tool. Yeah, you turn the sundial tool on, and that
Oh,
opens up
I
all
didn't
this.
even know that.
Yeah, so we're inside at some point, in this chamber, it's going to be very dark, but then as the sun and the moon and the stars go by, it changes dramatically, and you're going to see all these people's faces, and there's going to be all of this light play that I would say it's affecting your body, and it's going to be very healing.
Huh.
And who knows? It probably, I'm just guessing that it's going to heal anything that we have, cancer, or you had a stroke, Pastor,
Yeah.
anything like that. I'm just guessing, but
Well, why do you think that, though, Jonathan? I'm curious.
Yeah.
because the
What
power
do
of
you, yeah.
light and what's
Huh?
going on, this isn't some little thing. This is huge, and
Right.
so that's why I'm guessing that it's going to be a healing chamber.
Huh.
Um, Yeah, they're really incredible, and I can't wait to someday go there. And yeah, let me pause it here because this is like a almost a gateway inside this chamber. It looks like a new number one.
Mm-hmm.
You have this here, And the Google Earth camera interprets this feature as a glass-like substance or material, and it can't even. I can tell it had trouble determining whether it was a mound or a crater. Whether this
Yeah.
is going in or this is protruding out, because as the sun goes by,
Now,
uh,
is this the same image though, or
this is the
the
Park Avenue
same
chamber.
mesa? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I call it the Anubis chamber, and I call this the one gate because it has like a number one.
Yeah.
And yeah, let me just play it here.
But you're not changing the vantage point. The only thing you're doing is just changing the sundial.
Yeah, I'm recording a video of the sun going by,
Got it.
and you can just see some of the light play here. Yeah, so
So light and shadows can alter a person's perception just based on that.
yeah, I mean, if you were there, see, I've gone there out of body in a lucid dream and experienced this light play, and it's much more dramatic when you see it with your spirit eyes from that perspective. But even with here in time space, it would be very striking, and I'm sure it would just shake you to your core to see this, to be there and look at this happening in real time. I'd probably drop you to your knees, and you'd be sobbing. And that's how I am sometimes. Some of it, I just,
Hmm.
yeah, it's just very powerful.
It's funny, Jonathan. People who are, and I know, I'm just saying, I've talked to people who use psychedelics, okay,
Yeah,
to try to, um,
Open the third eye, pretty much.
yeah, um, is so you're saying naturally
yeah.
you can see in in several dimensions.
Well, I would take that even further though, but naturally, yeah. But um, do you use psychedelics at all sometimes as well to help you?
When I was young, I did.
Okay.
I wanted to see if it was another way of getting into that out of body state.
Yeah.
It was experimentation, and um, it's very interesting because it opens your eyes. Your eye takes in much more light.
Mm.
If you look at someone who's tripping,
Oh, the
they're
dilated.
they're dilated.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when you look, I remember vividly looking at laying in a cornfield in Indiana, looking up at the night sky. And all of a sudden, it just opened up the whole night sky, because it was as if we look at it almost like the inside of a dome. It's kind of boring. And then all of a sudden, I can see like somebody turned the light on. All this light is coming into my pupil now.
Mhm.
And I can see that now I have the depth perception. I can see that this star or that nebula is back over there, and these other stars, they're here. You get the depth perception that we
Right.
don't have just normally. And that was such a cool thing, because you have all this light coming, you can see the depth perception. And
Wow.
so it's a bit like that. But with you don't need drugs or any of that to see this. I feel it's built into our DNA,
Hmm.
and the art is meant to tap into our mind. And these people, they hear us thinking from the other side. They hear everything we think. And so if we were a delicate arch, they would be hearing us, and they might make a nice cloud come by with this face of something that is special to you, because they hear what you're thinking, and real time they will make some art for you.
I understand.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of levels of thought process I'm having with
Yeah.
this.
For sure.
Well, let me just tell you, people. I deal with people who lose loved ones in grief as a pastor.
Oh,
Okay, then in that beginning period of initial grief, a bird comes and lands on the windowsill. The loved one, the person feels that's the loved one that
Mm.
sent that bird.
yeah.
Before the death of the loved one, a bird lands on a windowsill or something, and it doesn't have the same purpose or meaning. So the mind, our mind can go places and think of things at different times in different situations that are relevant to the moment. So, so there's so many ways. And the reason I brought up psychedelics is some of the things you described is things that people that I've interviewed who've been on different types of psychedelics are seeing similar things. And that's the reason I asked that question. Paul, I'm glad you asked him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not trying to be offensive in any way. Because I heard you say it started when you were 6 years old, the out of body experiences, and I assumed you weren't on psychedelics. I immediately assumed that. So, having said that, I know people are trying to use mind altering drugs sometimes to acquire this ability.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I also know people who are in grief have um, manifestations or perception of manifestations because of the grief they're in, or PTS people who are going through PTS have sounds and and things that trigger other parts of their brain. So, having said all that, I'm not discounting this in any way. I'm just saying that the mind has a magnificent capabilities to perceive and receive and understand. And that's why when you see something where maybe 900 people could be brought into the room and none of them could see what you saw, Jonathan, but 100 people might say, yeah, I see it too, instantly. It's
Mm.
because maybe we're not all have the ability to look beyond 2 dimensions, okay, or 3 dimensions. We
Sure.
just,
Yeah.
we just don't. We were told there's only 3, so we don't look beyond for the 4th, 5th, and 6th and 7th dimensions, okay? Because we
Mm.
were told there was only 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
We're conditioned not to see
we
this.
get conditioned, right? That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm saying. So, having said all that, maybe I just rambled, but I just wanted to throw that out there for our listeners. And let me just say this to those of you listening on a podcast on Spotify or iHeartRadio, or, you need to go to the Paul Begley podcast YouTube channel for this interview, because
For sure.
you
Yeah.
have to see what Jonathan is showing us.
Mm.
You need to see what he says here to help understand and get the perspective here.
Yeah. If I could bring up Google Earth so we can just do a live example
Go ahead.
here.
Yeah, that'd be great. So I
Um,
do love Google Earth. So
You're gonna do this live right now.
yeah. So
Okay.
can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This feature right here, you can think of this feature here as the mouth of the Sphinx.
okay. Yeah. With I see the mark lines. That's
Yeah.
almost as far as I
Mark.
can go, but I can see it's
And you
similar.
get
Yeah.
used, yeah, you get used to seeing these features. It's very strange at first, but after a while, they become just very familiar. So I'm going to go down to Arches Park, which is about right in here. And let's just put in Moab, Utah.
And for anybody that's listening to or watching, if you haven't used Google Earth before, it'll blow your mind. But my kids, I use it with the kids all the time. They're like, I can't even believe it.
Here's the sundial tool. You click on that, and slow it down a bit.
Wow, when the
Now,
sun changes position, how it changes the landscape is unbelievable.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You could put in a date like the spring equinox, let's say, and then
Oh.
Hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
so
I'm sorry. Before you continue, though, I was just thinking about that. So, like, there's the sun. I think they call it the Sun Temple in Peru in Machu Picchu that will shine through the two different windows depending on the equinoxes, which I think that they set up strategically to signal the dry and rainy season.
And
So
Paul, you've been there. You've been to Machu.
yeah, but I was curious. I was like, oh, if you can do this and change the date and the time, you can probably see it go through the window.
Summer solstice, maybe winter,
Summer and winter
you know,
solstice. Yeah.
and the equinoxes, spring and fall.
Yeah.
yeah, this is the golden hour when the sun goes down, and in the morning they call it the blue hour, and it's a good time to go look at stuff because it's quite striking. And so
Wow.
here we are at Moab, Utah. This area is basically Arches National Park. Just that a bit. And let's see, we're going to go to this area here. This is Balanced Rock Complex, I call it. It's basically this area here. Delicate Arch is this section right here.
Mhm.
You can drive over there, and then here you have Balanced Rock. And I'll just zoom in a bit so you can see
Mhm.
Balanced Rock. It's this feature here.
Oh. Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Zoom in on that. That's a rock balancing on like a
Well, yeah, huge rock. And
I haven't seen it in real life, but I've seen pictures of that.
yeah, and what you realize is that as you move this around again, you have all this. I call them fractured faces. Like they use rocks sticking up out of the ground to depict parts of the face, but much of the face is missing, and it's filled in with background art.
Hmm.
What I want to focus on here is the chambers. So we'll go over here to north and south window
that's
arches.
the arch right there.
That's
These
cool.
two here, you've got like it's a
Yeah.
dragon, let's say it would be one thing.
Oh.
But if you look around, you notice that there are many chambers. That's a little too much shadow. Let's
What
see.
an incredible tool. Just
Oh, that
change the
tool.
time of the day.
That tool is so important. Let's see if I can go into the Anubis chamber here because it's right in here, and then you'll be able to see.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There it is.
All right, so we're on top of the
We're
ridge
looking
line.
down. This is that feature that has the number 1 on it.
Okay.
And if you do this just right, go in. It's a little.
Yeah, I can see
Takes a
you gotta
little.
get it right in the right spot.
Yeah, you got to get it in the right spot. It takes some practice. And okay,
All right.
we're close. Let's see. It's not behaving as it normally would, so maybe not such a good idea.
That's okay. No, I understand. Yeah,
But if you want to experiment, that's a good one. Is you go into this crevice here, and you'll see that there's an entrance. You could climb right down there. They don't allow drones in Arches National Park, which is a shame because you could just send a drone in there and confirm that that is
yeah.
the real. But I'm having it's not responding the same way. But and I've cataloged some 50 to 60 chambers in Arches Park like this one.
And by chamber, do you mean are we talking about the vantage point with the light, or are you
You
saying
could climb down there and go inside this chamber.
and it just keeps going?
Well,
Is
the
that what you mean
Google
by
Earth
infinity?
camera has gone in there
Yeah.
and recorded. It's gone so far. Now, I don't know if the chamber actually ends It's about, this one goes over to the right to about here. You can
Mhm.
see the edge of the mesa.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it continues on, and I wondered if maybe it goes, it just continues on through this whole structure. And
Wow.
yeah, try to get some better lighting on this here.
Huh.
Yeah, because one of the first things I noticed when I was studying this was over here. I've highlighted this these features a number of times in previous, is this Anunnaki sitting here. It's a side profile,
Mhm.
and this is his face. This is his hat. He's sitting on this throne here. This would be like his feet. This
Yep, I
would be
see.
Do you see that?
Yep.
And then you start looking and you're like, why is all these other lines? Well, it's because there's a million other faces
I
there.
see one right to the right of it, your cursor.
Good, good. And then when you look at,
Huh.
sorry, like this area here, I put the Sphinx face over this.
Okay.
And then you end up with like an eye here and an eye here and the mouth here. And this is the headdress. So it's like that. And it's dependent upon, the sun. And but yeah, it's just a million faces. And then for example, over here I noticed this feature where it looks like maybe a right profile, side profile of a dog. This is the dog's mouth,
Yeah.
the nose, his eye. It looks like, I'm like, that looks like a dog.
Right.
So this was the very beginning. This was where I was looking, before those three beings took me around the solar system, showing me the planets and everything. And I earned my infinity art wings, or I was
Sure.
able to see this. But yeah, I couldn't see any of this other before. Um, and just so many examples here where you have the faces, like where this is the chin, or oh, here's a good one. Look at the shadow. The shadow, here's an eye, here's an eye, this is the mouth,
Yeah.
and this is the crown.
Yes. I can see
Yeah.
that.
And then so it's just so, there's so much, it's hard to wrap your mind around. But you realize as you move this around, it's lining up into all these other faces. Like this section here will line up with this as you move it around, and it's going to make different faces. This will be the chin. So these things that stick up out of the ground are parts of faces, like what's scaffolding, maybe is a good word.
Mhm.
And it's filled in by other, the ground and the sky, and it's endless. You just see it's in a sea of faces and an ocean of art.
Right.
And once you get used to it, you say, oh my gosh, that lines up, and there's this huge face, and that kind of thing. But this is a good example of some shadow art where the shadow
Yeah.
is, and this is a face, and oh my gosh, it is just so incredible. There's here, this is called the Courthouse Towers. Again, there's a chamber right in here. If you do this on your own time, I guess, but you can zoom down in here and swing the camera around so that you go inside the rock, and you'll see that there's a chamber in there. And then, I mean, there's a million of them. They're all over the earth, and they're all over Mars. I found them on Mars. So yeah, it's pretty.
Wow.
Whoop.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Well, I definitely, so I don't live too far away from a few national parks. Definitely the next time I go and take the family, I'll try to get a better vantage point as best as I can, and I'll definitely pay more attention to the things that you've showed us today when I'm actually viewing the landscape, and see if I can see some of those similarities, because I think that's a cool way to kind of view the world. This is not usual, not a usual way, Jonathan, that people view the world. I think everybody, unfortunately, probably just look at their hand that's in front of them
It's
instead of
it's
past it.
mind conditioned. I think Jonathan's right. We've been so conditioned.
Yeah.
See things just a certain way instead.
Yeah. And if you're at the park, just be aware that there are people in higher dimensions that are watching you and hear your thoughts. Uh, that's going to affect what you see. I guess, just be aware that they are there.
Yeah.
This, to me, this is disclosure in its purest form. This is them saying to us, we are here. This is us. This is our history. This is how it all came to be.
Wow.
So never feel like you are alone, because, there's a lot of folks out there in the galaxy and the universe. And we've been around for a very long time. Us humans, we're pretty new kids on the block, comparatively speaking. So this is just them wanting us to know that, hey, we're real. And what better way to show us than just show us than their faces. And this art I mean, the Colorado Plateau, where Arches National Park is, that is the most stable spot on the earth. There's no earthquakes. They picked that spot for a reason to put. I mean,
Arches.
the whole earth is infinity art, but that place in particular has the most important art. And it's just not art, it's architecture, geometry. It's all of this blended. You don't have one without the other.
Right.
All these different aspects blended together. Thank you.
Jonathan, this has been an incredibly fascinating discussion. Thank you for taking us on a journey that blends science, spirit, and imagination. Your infinity art theory gives us a lot to think about, especially when it comes to the mysteries hiding in plain sight all around us, and even beyond our planet. For our listeners who'd like to explore more of Jonathan's work, visit his guest page on the paulbegleypodcast.com, and also you can visit his official site at jonathanwomack.com. Jonathan, thank you again for joining us and for helping us look deeper into the infinite design of creation. God bless.
God bless you, Jonathan.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on the Paul Begley Podcast. New episodes will be released every Tuesday on all major podcast streaming platforms. For a video recording of this episode, you can watch and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Paul Begley Podcast. Hey guys, we want you to connect with us. Follow us on X and Twitter at Paul Begley Pod. We'd love to hear your questions you want us to answer on the show. For additional Paul Begley content, go to our website at paulbegleyprophecy.org. If you've thought about it, we'll talk about it. Paul Begley Podcast.